I want to start with something off the field, if that's all right. Um, Social media, online abuse, it's obviously exceptionally prevalent in the game. It's prevalent in society. And we've seen individuals, we've seen clubs make decisions to come off social media either permanently or as a short-term boycott. I just want to know where you stand with sort of collective action and whether it's being discussed in the England camp.
Yeah, so obviously, unfortunately, members of the team and the wider squad have obviously experienced abuse. We all stand together in terms of our viewpoint on it and how unacceptable it is. And 100%, I think, to be fair, a lot of the team would join collective action if that was deemed to be the most effective, because something needs to change, obviously. And yeah, if that's the best way to do it, then yeah, 100% any collective action, whether that be come off it or take the same action on the platforms. I'm sure a lot of the girls would commit to that in terms of how it's affected our own.
You said obviously, players that have been affected by this. Just how difficult has it been for players within the game? And again, it's a problem that clearly isn't going away.
Yeah, it's the prime example of everybody just hoping that something disappears, but nobody actually taking any action that supports that. And you can have all different levels and I suppose severities of online abuse, but from literally just getting abuse after a football game because of performance to then the colour of your skin or your sexuality or your gender, um, all of it's unacceptable. Yet I can't believe that there aren't any measures to deal with them based on that severity, even, so yeah, absolutely nothing's being done, and it's unacceptable.
I'll move back to on the field now, but thank you for answering that. I appreciate it. Um, England's form isn't exactly great. What is the main problem, and what can be done to remedy it in the short term?
Yeah, it's hard to be honest. In terms of the form that we were in before the pandemic, and then obviously the game the other day, I hadn't thought too much about it. I can't speak for the other girls, but it's not really be something that we've been talking about being in a bad run of form just because it had been a year since we played an international match. So to be honest, it felt like a bit of a fresh start the other day. And in terms of the performance, it's prime example of one of those where your stats have gone up and your stats are impressive, and we're creating more chances against the top side and conceding less, yet lost 3-1. So very aware of that fact. Everybody's I shan't say the words that we're all feeling, but the disappointment that we are all experiencing, and the only positive is that we have a chance to turn it around, and that this is not the game that counts. This is the preparation, and if the lessons learnt will help us in the summer and beyond, then that's what matters.
And yet, you are increasingly becoming a senior member of the England team. You get more appearances, you're getting more minutes. Is it mixed feelings, I suppose, for you? Because obviously you're becoming more an established England player, and yet you're not quite getting the results you want.
Oh, 100%. Everybody's got a fairy tale dream of walking into the England setup, being given your shirt, and then winning the World Cup, of course. But I think the fact that we're on this sort of learning process, it's obviously very beneficial to me to be on the pitch at those times in terms of like literally just, learning where we're weak, where I'm weak, where I can contribute to the team. And to be honest, I'd much rather be involved in these learning processes now, so that I know what it means and I know what matters, and how to win the big games.
Obviously, going to the Olympics, there's only 18 players going, and you've got other players coming in from Scotland, from Northern Ireland, from Wales. In the England camp, is there a little bit of a kind of battle, survival of the fittest? Is there a competitive element to say, right, no, do you know what? I know I get on with you well, and especially someone like Lotta, who you train with every day at Arsenal, but no, this is my place. I'm going to win. Is there that real competitive element to training, even though you all get on so well?
You know what? There is. This is probably one of the most competitive camps. There's been a lot of sort of match play within the training sessions, which has allowed for things to get quite competitive because you're literally going 11v11 and battling it out. And like you say, everybody knows that they're almost auditioning for their spot. That's no secret. But there is also you mentioned between me and Lotta, for example, there couldn't be more support between us in terms of whatever she needs. I'm there to help make her better. But we all sort of had this conversation that you don't want to be on the plane because somebody else was bad. You want to be on the plane because they were good, but you were better. So that's the mentality that we're chasing, I suppose. That's helping us chase our spots.
I know there's a lot of people want to talk to you, so I'll let you go. But good luck tomorrow.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Anton. We'll go next to Emma Sanders for the BBC, please.
Hi, Leah. Hope you're well.
Hiya, you too.
Thank you. I just want to touch on what you were saying to Anton there about the sort of learning lessons from these challenging games. Can you tell us a little bit about what those lessons were, particularly for you personally?
Yeah, so obviously we need to find a way to dominate possession as we did and dominate games in terms of progressions into their half and into their box, but close out the game. Obviously, defensively, you've got a lot of one-on-one situations, a lot of split-second decisions that have ultimately swung the game in their favour. So, yeah, for me, your priority is defending, obviously, and then contributing to the team as best you can everywhere else. And from a team perspective, obviously, the transition and just knowing that against a top side, if you're going to offer up space and opportunities, they'll take them.
Yeah, and obviously you were without Steph Horton and Lucy Bronze in that back line. How much of a miss were they in that defeat to France?
Oh, 100%. Players of their calibre and experience, you're always going to miss them in a team regardless, even just their presence. In terms of the way we played as a team, Hege's mentioned quite a lot about the defending as a team and not just being a back four. So obviously there's a collective issue that we just need to make sure we tighten up on. But of course, you have players like that missing. It's always going to be a slight effect on the team because they're such big presence normally.
Yeah, you say there that it's a collective effort, but do you think the fact that England perhaps haven't really had a kind of consistent back four for a while now, do you think that might have had an impact on performances?
Potentially. It's hard because when we were set and when we were in shape, we were hard to break down, which is what we wanted to be, and there was good organisation. From a defensive unit and the midfielder and the goalkeeper behind. So it's a difficult one. Of course, maybe it'll have an effect, but in terms of the position that we're in and what we need to all make sure we're working on leading into a tournament, regardless of selection, it's quite hard to keep a consistent back four, I suppose. But like I say, it's so funny to me speaking because these are the same conversations we were having before the pandemic and it feels like such a long time. I'd almost removed from that. So yeah, it is interesting when you look back and maybe a bit more urgency is needed to fix our problem scenes as they have been around for a while.
Thanks, Leah. Good luck.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Can we go next to Florence Lloyd-Hughes for Talk Sport, please?
Hey, Leah. Just wanted to ask about positionally. I think Emma touched on a little bit there, but you've moved quite a lot from club to England, going right centre-back, left centre-back. How does that feel? I mean, how does it play out? Is it difficult doing that?
It's a funny one. All players will say this. You don't want to be jack of all trades, master of none. But I do think that there's so many benefits to being exposed in different areas and at the right time. Like I say, taking your game to the next level almost. For example, playing right back at the She Believes last year is an invaluable experience for me in terms of playing against the best and putting myself under pressure in that way. Obviously, looking at an Olympic squad from a personal perspective, versatility has been something that's been mentioned, and to know that I've had that exposure is comforting to me, I suppose. But also for the team, you just never know what's going to happen. So it's 100%. It's always on my mind in terms of making sure that I get the best out of me, and playing in one position all the time, you can master that. But yeah, I think it could. Yeah, I would never say it's detrimented me yet in my career.
We've seen a lot of teams develop really successfully. I mean, France being one of them, kind of out of circumstance on Friday, but when they have a lot of players playing for the same team, Germany and Bayern Munich, Spain and Barcelona, do you think we could maybe lean on that a bit more? I mean, maybe having yourself and Lotte, and then we could potentially have a Man City front three there. So do you feel like that could be an advantage for England going forward to drive things a bit more based on who's playing with each other at club level?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I suppose you could find arguments for both. The benefit of the English League and the WSL is that we have so many strong teams, and you take players from all of them, whereas it's not the same in other countries. So what makes our league most attractive potentially does act as a bit of a, holding us back a little bit. But I think when you come to England, you hope that your performances in training are what's deciding the team and not necessarily just a partnership or previous information. So I'm not too sure how it would go down, but potentially, as time goes on and you figure out those partnerships and if people do play together at club, I don't think it's ever going to be a negative, really.
And finally, I think, lots of people really appreciated Nikita's post-match speech that they put out on the Lionesses social media. I think it was just really great to see kind of the desire from the squad. Do you think there's kind of a lack of understanding of how kind of big the Olympics tournament is for women's football, because the role from a Team GB side hasn't always existed for that long? 2012 was kind of the first time we saw it. Do you think there's a lack of understanding of the status of that tournament for a lot of people in the kind of UK football world?
Without a shadow of a doubt. If people ask me about, if they know I'm a footballer and they ask me about my, what's up next kind of thing, and I'm like, oh, there's an Olympics potentially in the summer, people don't even know about it. So I think 100% there's the lack of understanding and appreciation of what it is. And, it's the most demanding tournament in world football in terms of expectations from athletes, a game every 2 days. And although, the World Cup is the pinnacle of football, the Olympics is so special in itself. So 100%, I don't think people really realise what's at stake and what's potentially there to win this summer and how much it would do for English and British football. Yeah.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you very much, Florence. Could we go next to Dan Pentland, please, for WSL Full-Time Magazine?
Hi, Leah. Hope you're well. Firstly, your club teammate Lotte, we've obviously touched on her a little bit this morning already. But how pleased are you that she's kind of emerged this season and, she's getting recognition in the England team and, she's been kind of keeping you on your toes?
It's great. Obviously, Lotte was around in the spring series. Her and Anna Patten broke through then, and they were unbelievable and a great asset to the team. So I'm glad that she's come back from America and picked straight up where she left off. Looking back on my own career, I wish opportunities were handed to me at the right time for me to be ready. And I think Lotte's come back. She's made herself this incredible athlete and footballer from America, and it's the perfect time for her to get these opportunities to come in because she's a great footballer and she's showing that.
I think we've touched on it already, but your versatility for club and country, obviously 18 players in the GB squad. I think you've played both games at centre-back so far, but have you had any kind of conversations with Hege, about versatility and potentially being trialled in different positions?
Yeah, for sure. We've all had conversations with the coaches about just basically all the options, and there's so much to think about. There's so many players to consider from all four nations, let alone actually the positions that each one of them can play. So, yeah, it's definitely on the radar. And like I say, it's not something it's something that I'm grateful for now, I suppose. And you don't ever think you will be grateful for, but it's definitely been on the radar and it's been spoken about, and I suppose it's just another option. It's important to have that going into a tournament.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Leah. Thanks
No
a lot.
worries.
Thank you, Dan. And final question before we move into the embargoed section, please. Dom Smith for englandfootball.org.
Hi, Leah. How are you?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. You've been a regular starter for England since the World Cup. How much confidence does that give you ahead of the Olympics, where, as you've already touched on, the squad is so small with only 18 players?
Yeah, obviously, the biggest compliment a coach can give and the biggest confidence booster is a space in the starting 11. So that's really important for me. I worked hard for a couple of years and didn't even make the squad. So it's obviously a big confidence booster personally. But it's funny because I don't think anybody could give me anything that would reassure me or the other way for the Olympics at the minute. I'm just keeping my head down, working hard, and we'll just see what happens. But I think, you have to remember that there's literally 30 other girls in the exact same space as you. So, we'll see.
And we heard from Hege earlier, just before you, and she was saying that one of the problems against France was that when we were attacking with so many numbers, the England team, it left the back four quite exposed when France came at you. Did you feel that as a problem as a member of that back four?
It's funny because as the game goes on, obviously you notice certain things, but until you look at it afterwards, you're not really aware of the severity or whatever. But it's difficult. You think that you can defend, we're defenders, we should be able to defend, and you want to encourage the team to go forward. But I suppose team shape left us slightly vulnerable. But yeah, I don't think it was a sole case of them leaving us exposed to the reason we conceded, just like I don't think it was just a back four issue. But it's definitely a collective thing we need to just look at and just make sure we get the balance right, for sure.
Okay, thanks very much, Leah. Best of luck tomorrow.
No worries. Thanks very much.